Because this is the last episode before the big finale and I have many things that I did not like in this episode, one will make this one a two-part episode. Like in the episodes before, I will mostly talk about what I would have made different and what does not work for me in this episode. If you think about this being the second last episode ever of Revenge, this one could have been far better. I know it is natural that the most fulfilling moments are spared for the finale. However, in Germany this was aired together with the last episode, in some kind as a two-part finale like we had it in season 2 and 3. But let's dive right into one of the final episodes. And they are quite a handful. So excuse me if I am repeating myself and go back and forth. But as much as I like parts of the finale, as much I despise many things in these last two episodes. First, I must say I am impressed that Victoria finally seems to beat Emily in her own game. She really thought of anything, making believe Emily tried to terrify her by attacking her to get the flash drive. This could have been really true since she was very desperate, and we have seen someone with a slim figure in a black hoodie. Then Mason, a dead man, planting evidence in Emily's car. Genius. I mean, everyone thinks he is dead due to Emily. So no one will search for him instead of Emily's gang, of course. I was so happy to see Nolan and Jack work together to get Emily out of this mess. And finally, the last nail in the coffin with the forged suicide note and the staged break-in at Victoria's apartment. As I said, even I was fooled for a moment and doubted that the writers are showing us the truth with Emily being innocent. Since she always played with fire, it could have been possible that she burned Grayson Manor down. And I was more confused that she at first did not want to plea like everyone innocent person, but then agreed to it in the end. I mean, if that was Nolan's and her plan from the beginning, trying to break out of prison, why did she make that move not right away? By the way, it was nice touch bringing this actor back together with her, who portrayed her father in her very first show as a leading actress. As I watched Revenge for the first time, I always thought Emily was familiar to me. But I had already forgotten about this nice little show in which she played a troubled teenage girl who wants to be a ballerina. And I must admit, I always wanted to see Everwood again. Too bad that they do not show it on television. And like Revenge, no one of my VOD has the old shows. I guess this is all licensed by Disney Plus, and so they have it exclusive. It was good to see though that all of her men were there to support her. Though it was kind of strange that Margaux and Louise were not there. Didn't she boast she would be the first on the stand? I mean, yes, it would have been redundant, but if these were not the last two episodes, they could have made a little tribute to Daniel's trial in the first season, when we had that little scene with Declan's testimony. As I said many times during this episode talk, I wish they had not crammed these last two episodes full with all unsolved plot lines. If they had taken the time to make this plot last a little bit longer, I think this would have been more fulfilling than rushing into it. But I guess since they did not know it was the last season until filming was over, they tried to leave some things open in the previous episodes, in order to have new storylines and plot ideas they could retrace in a later season 5. Speaking about Margaux and Louise going to testify against Emily, I still get mad when I think about how phony Margaux is here. She knows firsthand, as we will see later when they make the big reveal, that Victoria is truly alive. Yet before Louise, who seems to really mourn her friend, she plays this charade and even using the newspapers she owns to blackmail Emily. I mean, yes, she has all right to be furious at Emily because she terrorized the Grayson family, was in some kind responsible for many trauma and loss in Margaux's life. But she did not kill her father, neither Daniel. And if she took the time to see Emily's perspective, she would have known that in the end her friend Victoria was kind of responsible for Daniel's death. since she gave Kate that photo who made her go after Emily in the first place. And Conrad was the one who killed Pascal because of the David Clarke conspiracy Emily just wanted to bring to light. So the real bad ones in this story are still the Graysons. But I guess that is the problem with revenge. You cannot see past your own anger, pain and trauma to see that the other side is hurt, too. The writers are good at making us see the core problem again. Another thing, I really love that they show us multiple perspectives here. Even though I hate Ben still for being a roadblock for Emily and Jack in this last 3 episodes, I really like the role he played. 'Cause Jack and Nolan are too deeply involved in Emily's revenge agenda and her war with Victoria to be neutral anymore. I mean, even Jack seemed not to be very shocked that Victoria is dead. Yes, he asked if Emily was involved, but something tells me that he not only considered it but even expected her to do so. So Ben is the only one left who could talk some sense into Emily. And for me it was still a bad idea letting her go after Mason and violate her house arrest. David was right in their fight, he should have gone. Nolan and Jack would have been an option too. I guess that Emily has a hard time letting go of control and always wants to do things by her own. But Jack would have been a great choice since he was with the police and should know how to look for missing persons. They only made her leave to get the typical caught in act scene, which was just a waste of precious time for me in these last episodes. The 2 scenes with Ben and David waiting for the alarm to get on and Emily being arrested again could have been easily cut out. And we had more time for anything substantial like a testimony of Louise or real talk between Margaux and Emily. To get one of them on Emily's side and screw Victoria over. About Jack and Emily talking on the swing. This was a nice little scene and I appreciate that they did not drag this out and came to the point very quick. It was a nice tribute to their previous talk in season 3. 'Cause unlike making us believe this swing was something that connected Emily to her father, she always thought about Jack, too, when she sat on it, since he was the one who repaired it in season 1. Anyway, I like this little comic relief which Nolan spoiling their kiss. Even funnier as he is the worst Gemily shipper on the planet. Like a commentary to the bad timing of Jack and the bad luck of the writers by making us believe this is finally happening only to delay till the very last moment of the show. And this smile. It really made me root for Jack. You must understand I never doubted his feelings for Amanda. He married the wrong girl because of this obsession. Stayed in Montauk after his brother's and wife's death because of Emily and even helped her with her revenge agenda. So it is safe to say that he never stopped loving her. But for Emily I am not quite sure, since she got involved with Daniel in season 1. Which was the first roadblock for them, like her need to protect Jack from all this. Then Fomanda and Aidan came into the picture and really drove them far apart. So I think in season 2 and 3 she some kind forgot about her feelings for Jack. And in season 4, if they even had come back, she did not allow herself to think about it. For me it is very doubtful if she is really fallen all over her head here. Jack seems like the only option, not ending up alone. And since the writers failed to give her a new fulfilling boyfriend this season, they only could make this happen. They just had no other option left than to let her end up alone, as some kind of punishment for her previous deeds. But I guess since American TV shows tend to end on a happy and forgiving note, that was no question here. Even Scandal and How to Get Away with Murder, some more recent ABC shows I really loved, took the drama very far, only to disappoint us with a fluffy last episode in which nearly everyone got their happy end. About bringing Charlotte back, another redundant scene they could have cut out to have some more fulfilling plot here. I feared, as Margaux mentioned here, that we would see her back, though they could have easily made a phone call out of this. Or just skip this part and see Louise in Victoria's apartment. This hippy-dippy Charlotte is just such a cliché. The only thing I really loved about the scene was the setting. I like this difference between these Californian, really Mediterranean outside sets and the Hamptons. In the last episode we had the great mansion of Stevie and now this rehabilitation center. But the scene itself is just not that great. I think they only put it in to make Louise and us the audience doubt Victoria is really dead. Though in my opinion we all have a hunch since Victoria did it twice already. I think Daniel's death is backfiring here. 'Cause now that so many people are dead who could confirm firsthand what a terrible and manipulative person Victoria truly is, we have no corrective view here. Only Emily and her friends know what Emily had to endure through her revengender because of the Graysons. Margaux clearly never took the time through season 4 to see Emily's side and got caught up as some kind of a casualty in Emily's and Victoria's war. This started long before Margaux got involved, so Charlotte is the only one left who could set the records straight. Again, I wonder why they did not use her. She could have testified as a witness for Emily. What she says Louise here would have been no evidence, I know, but it would show to what length Victoria would go to make this a trial that buries Emily under false allegations. This scene between David and Emily was intense and well written. I love how he really makes us afraid of Emily ending up in jail like himself. This is no doubt his deepest nightmare, and shows how ruthless Victoria is caused by hurting Emily in this way. She also hurts David in his core. Is she really that vindictive? Or does she do this on purpose? 'Cause David and her broke up and she hates him, too now. Yes, she cannot know that he has cancer and only a short amount of time left, but this fact just adds to the fury I feel about her. You must admit, after making us almost believe Victoria could have been a victim of Emily, they really doing a great job in reversing this again. I like that game they are playing with Victoria from the first season. When we first met her, he seems merely a prisoner in her marriage with Conrad, mourning the loss of David and regretting that she was responsible for putting him in jail. Then we get to know about her backstory with little Amanda and hate her for what she did to this innocent girl. And in season 2 and 3 she really gets involved with Conrad's crimes and does even more to hurt Emily. So we cheered when Emily finally locked her up in an institution like she did with Amanda. Then in this season we felt compassion for her because they reminded us not only about her failed love story with David, but what her mother put her through. It was a great tribute having her back in the final episode. And a nice symmetry that both parents of Victoria and Amanda die of cancer. 'Cause no doubt David and Marian Harper had a bad influence on her children. David because he was mostly absent and could not protect his daughter from everything bad that happened to her. And Marian because of the trauma she gave her teenage daughter. First that she got molested by her man and later had to cover a murder for her mother. So for me, the revelation that Victoria burned her own mother for her selfish revenge plan was a genius ruse of the writers. Another thing I forgot. I like that they are still trying to mix in some comic relief. Though I hated the scene with David and Ben and the previous one with Emily storming out of the beach house while David is trying to stop her. I appreciate the humorous note here that David as her father has no saying in this and looks a bit like a caught schoolboy who violated parents' house arrest. About Margaux in this episode, I really hate in this. Like I said, she knows the whole time that Victoria is alive and what this will do to Emily and her friends. Yet she does nothing to stop her. Instead she is complacent and helps her see this plan through. I mean, did she not think for a second that this was going too far? And what about all the casualties? Not only Jack but David, who will lose his daughter the second time around. And her quote about a sociopathic wreck was really rude and cruel. Again, instead of going at this goose chase after Mason, which ended in the last big plot hole and having her arrested twice, they really could have done something different here. Why not letting her and Charlotte have a true and honest conversation about Victoria? I mean, Emily still seems to think Victoria killed herself to pull this off. Charlotte could have made her see the obvious here, that Victoria is still alive. Or as I said, they could have used a confrontation between Emily Louise or Margaux to bring him to reveal Victoria's plan to her. And finally switch back to her side. They could have even put a reconciliation scene in with Louise and Nolan, for which I waited this whole 2 episodes. Anything would have been better than this really redundant and bad scene in which Ben has the pleasure to arrest her again. I mean, what the hell? Should this be an inside joke about all the plot holes they made us live with? Or final commentary to the legal system that cannot investigate clues that are presented right in front of them? Why the hell should someone who is clearly guilty use his last moments in freedom to investigate this? Should she not have tried to flee in order to not get caught again? I mean, why is Ben not a little bit suspicious here? And I know this would have spoiled the party. But why could Emily not surprise Mason while he was eating his dinner with champagne? This could have been a very funny scene. Ben trying to arrest Emily just to see presumably dead Mason pretty well and alive sitting in this caravan. That would have given Emily the opportunity to underpin her alibi, and they would have to investigate in other directions. Meanwhile, she had bought time to find Victoria and proof that she is alive. So the murder trial would be off the plot with a more substantial and less crazy plot. And it would have been far more fulfilling seeing Mason put in jail than having this Damocles sword around Emily. Was this something they left open for a possible new season? Speaking about Louise and Mason, I was disappointed that he never surfaced again for the finale. They never told us what became of him. I guess since they just abandoned this plot again, maybe for tribute's sake or internal joke, whatever. We will never know, cause they had no plan to tell. Anyway, this scene with Nolan was a big disappointment. Not only because it is the last one besides that deleted scene from Emily's wedding. I really thought he could talk some sense into her and make her see that she is only used by Margaux and Victoria. They tried obviously to show her as this innocent manipulated victim, but I think they just did not do it that well. Since we only have these little snippets in which she gets aware of how she was wronged. First with the hoodie she finds in Victoria's apartment and goes to the police, which was the best thing anyone could have done for Emily. I mean, why Jack, Nolan and David do not use the information they already got about Mason and let the police do their work? Yes, this could have all been fabricated, but they had to prove it, so they had to investigate first. Since this is new evidence, the photo and the trailer. Again, revenge shows zero trust in the legal system. Second, the failure of Victoria herself letting her know she is still alive. I know they wanted the surprise moment here and later when Louise is the one who gives Emily the information where she can find Victoria. But it is really too much to ask, having a scene or two in which Louise actually talks about her doubts with Nolan or Emily herself. I really waited for her to be welcomed in the inner circle of Team Emily again. And we saw her as guest in one close-up shot at the wedding. So why not make us see her being friends with Emily and Nolan again? Maybe even apologizing to Emily, since she was very rude to her and humiliated her in public in the last episode. Though there is one thing I enjoy in this scene. The humor on both sides. Louise can be so unintentionally funny. And I love the little snippet from the bloopers in which we hear her Freudian slip about Victoria's secret. And Gabriel Mann states in 4 seasons. This was the first time, though I doubt that, since this is a common combination you have in mind.
Victoria's Secret. Victoria's Secret!
Is that the first time that's happened in 4 seasons?
About Emily talking with her father and Ben about her suspicion. It always bothered me that she is the only one talking about this. Yes, it sounds crazy, but she and Nolan know very well she did this between season 1 and 2. By the way, where is the flashback here? And what bothers me even more is that this comes out of nowhere. Before she got arrested again, she never told anyone about this new suspicion. Now she is telling everyone this. Maybe they are trying to make a tribute to David's time in jail, analyzing the Graysons and Victoria's every move. But he has been in prison over a decade. Emily is 1 day in prison. And she already managed to come behind the whole plot while she has talked to nobody. She does not know about the hoodie Louise found. She does not know where Mason is. She does not know for sure Victoria is alive. And she does not know whom she burned instead. So how could she come up with this crazy and very detailed idea how Victoria made up this plan to frame her? I think this was the most inconsistent and bullshit revelation I have seen so far in Revenge. The plan and its resolution in parts bit by bit were great. But why could they not have Emily talk this through with someone in the beach house? Even better with the whole gang being present, from David, Jack, Nolan to maybe Louise or Margaux. This would have given us more scenes in the beloved beach house we missed that much this season. And it would have been a tribute to all these episodes she was plotting her revenge with Nolan and Jack. They could have even made Ben join in, since they had to persuade him to investigate this further. For dramatic sake, since they had to escalate David's cancer quick, he could have had his stroke in the beach house. I know it is even more dramatic that Emily, who is always in control, cannot do anything about it cause she is in jail right now. But I think this was just cheap, since she breaks out only in a few hours. So they could have spared this side plot, too. Anyway, would have been far more disturbing and close to the audience's own experience when he was in their beloved home when it happened. Emily would still feel helpless, since it is cancer we are talking about here. Plus we had the comforting yet more hurting pleasant environment of the beach house. Again, they could have played with all the different notions here, from being the home in which they both got arrested. By the way, if they really thought the first scene when she got arrested in her own home was not strong enough, they failed to put the flashback in to have a more emotional connection. For me, it was the best choice, letting her being arrested on the spot where her father had been arrested all those years ago. A nice symmetry again, which was lost because they did not want to use the flashback again. Anyway, you see, I have plenty ideas and problems with these 2 episodes. If I had to choose between the 2, this first one was more disappointing than the last one. Obviously they gave us all the fulfilling scenes in the finale. But they could have done a far better job with this episode.